inside of you.
Blessings to all of you beautiful beings. It's Elena and I'm enchanted to have you be here on my channel. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're new, consider liking, subscribing, becoming part of my little YouTube family. And if you've been here before, hello and welcome back to each and every one of you amazing, fantastic, incredible beings right across the screen. Lots of love, lots of warm hugs, and hopefully you and yours are safe. On today's video, I am sharing with you the start and creation of my reading journal. Now, this video was recorded quite a long time ago, and I just have not had a chance to get back to it. And instead of starting a brand new journal, I am reusing an old journal that I had planned to work with calligraphy, but I ended up using a different journal for that. So I am going to kind of fix it up, patch it up, and repurpose this journal. And while I do so, I'm listening to the Hunger Games audiobook, and I have been absolutely loving the books. I've seen all the movies, but the books are just great. Now, the reading journal that I have, I did an embossing on the top, as you see those silver-like flowers and florals, and I kind of wanted to get rid of them for that reading journal and do something else on the front of it. I haven't decided exactly what just yet is going to be placed on the front. It's still kind of blank. I might do it in the next video that I do a reading journal kind of update, but I've learned that acetone works really well in taking them off of the cover. So I was pretty darn excited for it. The cover is able to withstand the acetone, which is great. So I really like this notebook and this journal, and I've been using a similar journal for my bullet journal for a while until I switched over to Archer and Olive this year. And I'm going to have all the items that I used in here linked down in the description if you want to check them out. Now, I used the acetone to kind of wipe off most of it, and then I figured out that tape takes off the rest that the acetone doesn't take off. So it was a little bit of like a, I don't know, surprising moment, but it worked, and now I have a nice clean journal to work with and kind of re-customize. So I wanted to do a cover page for reading journal and something that's a little decoupage-y and covered in stickers and covered in like literature and reading type of material mixed in with a little bit of nature and things like that. So I ended up using the recycled brown paper that I use for my packaging things for my shop, and just kind of went at it without really having a clear vision or mission. I just ended up kind of like sticking things as I went along, and I think it came out pretty okay. Now, at the beginning of the year, I sat down and wrote down 21 goals that I wanted to accomplish or work on for the year of 2021. And one of the goals was to read 21 books. Now, at the start of this video, I only did 2 books in there, and I'm going to talk about those books in depth as I get to redoing those books. But as of right now, I am currently reading book number 15. Now, this is literally about 14 books more than I have read last year, so I am pretty darn proud of myself. And what I want to do with these reading journal videos is kind of show you how I set it up. I kind of wanted to do it like a little bit like a book report and kind of write down favorite quotes, notes, jots down, have each page be the theme for the book, and just kind of have a good reference and a good reminder after I read the books. So I think it would be kind of cool to kind of, I don't know, if I want to talk about a certain book, have a little bit of a reference and talk about quotes and different things and how much I like that book, what I thought about that book, and kind of share it with you. Quite a few of the books that I've been reading so far this year are pagan based, which I think fit in my channel well, but I read a diverse amount of literature. I read various psychology books, poetry books, and all sorts of things. So I'll definitely be sharing along, all the books that I read and that I could recommend. And I'd also like this video kind of be a good opportunity for you guys to suggest any books that you really like, really enjoyed. You could leave them down in the comments below, not only for me to enjoy, but if anybody else watches the video and wants more book inspiration. I am definitely falling back in love with reading various books and actually taking the time out to sit down and read and to relax and kind of let my mind go into reading mode compared to, just watching shows online or YouTube videos or anything like that. So I'm a high advocate for reading in any genre, really. And the way that I would recommend somebody to start getting into reading is just to pick a very small, simple book in a topic that you're interested in and kind of take your time reading it and actually enjoying it. Don't stress about finishing it. Don't worry about taking too long to read it or anything like that. Just read it at your own pace and make sure you read it with enjoyment. And I think that would kind of help kickstart a way into reading. I don't know. That's just a little suggestion that I have for anyone who wants to start reading more books. Now, for these reading journals, not only am I including actual physical books that I have read and held in my hands and discovered what secrets they keep within, but I'm also including audiobooks since I end up doing both at the same time. I usually have a physical book that I read either in the morning or before I go to bed, or if I'm waiting for a doctor's appointment, anything like that. And then I have an audiobook that I listen to while I'm driving or running errands, if I'm at the gym or working out or anything like that. And especially when I'm editing videos that don't have audio to begin with. So videos such as this. Other than the voiceover, there's really no audio to work with until I do the voiceover, and the voiceover is last. So there's no noise with these videos, and I really, really, really love playing an audiobook in the background as I go through and edit videos. It becomes a much more enjoyable process because video editing is not one of my favorite things to do. I'm okay with it. I dislike doing voiceovers even more. But I'm trying to kind of learn and get better at it as I continue doing various videos. Now the next couple of pages I am doing already read pages, and it's just going to be the book title, the author of the book, the date I started reading, and then the date I completed the book, as well as a rating of the book of 0 through 10, just to kind of have a brief overview or a brief review look on it and that sort of thing. I wanted to give myself plenty of room for filling that in, so I'm being ambitious and left plenty of room with lines to kind of fill in the books that I have read or am currently reading. And I don't intend to use this journal just for this year. I intend to use this journal until it's completely filled in, and I think it will be just like a very, satisfying moment, satisfying trophy of all the books that I read, and kind of have it be as a collage and just little tidbits of various literature that I have enjoyed. I really liked using that map type of washi tape at the top because I believe that you pretty much travel or get transported to many worlds as you read and enjoy various books. So I thought that washi tape was fairly fitting. And I'm using various stickers to kind of cover up past things that I have put on pages. That way they don't show through and I get to reuse the journal. Then I flipped all the way to the back of the notebook and I wanted to put a couple separate pages of books that are on my wish list to read and just kind of do a list of books or literature or anything like that that I'm interested in reading and have the title, the author, if I've ended up purchasing that book, if I have it already or if I don't have it already or if it's been gifted to me or that type of stuff. That way I'm able to kind of keep track of my wish list and have a place or good place to keep track of books that I really want to read, I'm really interested in reading, and I don't have to, rely on my thousands of sticky notes that I put everywhere. So this is my to be read spot. Again, I am quite ambitious with how many books I'm interested in reading, so I wanted to give myself plenty of room to write all them down and kind of have it in one spot. We shall see how things go. So the first book that I've completed this year that I'm going to be writing into this journal is called A Feast for Crows by George R.R. Martin, and it's part of the series of the Game of Thrones. Now this was an audiobook, and it took me a while to go through this one. Again, I wasn't exactly as dedicated to reading before this year for whatever reason. I'm not sure. So this year I made it a point to kind of, read more things as I talked about my goals and things like that. This book was pretty good and pretty easy to listen to. I would highly recommend, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, if you've seen just the shows, like the shows were pretty good. I was hooked on them. I was sitting on the edge of my seat, except the last season, the last couple episodes. That was just amazing. I loved the shows, but when I started reading the books, oh my gosh, it was like the epicness of the show times 10, like just the details that were missed in depicting the story through like visually versus reading, and you're able to kind of see inside the characters' minds more and kind of realize why they did what they did, because it's really spoken from their point of view. You're not just watching the story unfold, like you're reading their story unfold. And oh my goodness, was that a good book. Like I listened to the whole series in audiobook, and they are fairly long. So if you have a long commute to go somewhere, or if you like to work out or go on walks or anything like that where you either listen to music or just kind of zone out, I would highly recommend trying to listen to an audiobook. And I'll have links down below to join Audible if you are interested in doing so. But my goodness, did I love this series. And what I'm doing first is kind of decorating the 2 pages in the theme of kind of like ancient architecture type. And I have the house shields and I have the swords and that kind of thing. So I tried decorating the pages to kind of embody the feel of the book, if that makes sense. And I put a couple fall trees in the center because during this book it wasn't exactly winter yet. The next book was when it was starting to become more wintry. So I just really wanted to decorate the pages to kind of get the feel of the book, so when I open to it, it'd be like, oh yeah, that's what I read. I kind of remember it. It'll be a good sort of reference point for me. Again, this is what I am going to enjoy doing because I like doing little artsy, crafty, creative things, and take any opportunity and excuse to use stickers. So the swords and the shields, I printed those out myself off of online just to kind of have something to really correspond to the book itself and that sort of thing. But mainly what I'm going to end up doing is just writing down like a brief excerpt of the book, kind of what I thought about it, my interpretations for certain things, and then on the other page is going to be quotes or any favorite sayings from the characters. And like I said, any excuse at all to kind of use stickers or do any sort of artsy crafty stuff, I am on it. So what I do for each page, each book, is try to get a picture of the cover of the book that I read. For instance, in the top left corner, you see that little red sticker. That's the cover page of the book that I read, as I just repeated exactly what I said. Whoops. And I kind of wanted to put down if it's an audiobook, the date that I finished, again, the rating for it, and how easy was it to listen if it's an audiobook, or how easy it was to read. And this is the finished version. I did a couple quotes and things like that, and I'm going to read a couple of those quotes that are my favorite from that book. And history is a wheel, for the nature of man is fundamentally unchanging. What has happened before will perforce happen again. Definitely love that quote. And it says, sometimes there is no happy choice, Sam, only one less grievous than the others, which I do think is quite a life lesson to learn. And that was Jon Snow talking to Sam. And another one is, men of honor will do things for their children that they would never consider doing for themselves. And that quote really resonated to me. I don't have children, but I do have family and friends that I really care for, and I really realized just how much effort I would put into making them happy, into making my husband happy, into just doing, giving something up of myself to make them happier, without realizing that I haven't really done that for myself. So, like I said, I put down some really interesting quotes that kind of speak to me and something that I have learned a lesson from. The next book is called Paganism in Depth, and it's by John Beckett. Now, I referenced this book a couple of times during chapter 1 of my witchy lessons. I'm going to link that playlist up at the top if you want to check it out. And this was a physical book that I read, and it was a pagan book. Again, it's in the title. Now, I would consider this book to be an 8 out of 10 on my personal scale, mainly because it wasn't exactly in depth. Now, perhaps this would be something considered in depth to a practitioner that doesn't have the years of experience that I do, so maybe I just over expected of what in depth should entail or that sort of thing. But the way that he writes his books and the way he talks about things is kind of like he starts a topic and he says, this is kind of what I do, but you can do what works for you, which is definitely the way that paganism works, but he doesn't exactly go into depth of what is in depth. At least that's in my opinion. And at least that's how I kind of interpreted the book. So it was a very interesting read. It was a very good way to kind of get into the perspective of a different practitioner and kind of hear what a different practitioner has gone through and hear his experiences. He practices slightly differently than I do, so maybe his terminology of in-depth is different than what my in-depth is. But overall, it is a very well-written pagan book, and it is really written by someone who has experienced the life of paganism and has truly experienced the practice. Again, I go through the book and kind of write a brief excerpt of the book itself, how I thought about it, how I felt about it, and that sort of thing as I explain it. And on the other page, I put down a couple quotes that kind of resonated with me. A couple examples are, and I'll read them to you, is science teaches us literally, while paganism expresses poetically. And I really like that quote. I feel like it kind of entails how science and paganism is kind of connected in similarities, but science kind of has a different way to kind of teach you about it, versus paganism has a different way to teach you about the same subject. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I lost you there or not. Another one of the quotes I like is, I felt joy when I discovered a name for something I always knew was true. And that has definitely been my experience through paganism. I find such incredible power and delight when I read someone else's words and someone else's interpretation for something that I have believed through my whole entire life. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one. This isn't just my thoughts. Like, this is a thing. Let me know if you have experienced that kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone type of moment down in the comments, because it's such a uplifting moment, I would say. Anyways, so this is kind of what I'm going to be doing, and I'm going to be updating it and going through every couple of months just to talk about certain books that I really enjoyed or any books that I recommend. Again, if you have books that you want to recommend, leave them down in the comments below, not just for me, but for anybody else who watches this video. And that's kind of the overview of how I set things up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was mainly a setup type of video for my reading journal. The next couple of videos from this is just going to be individualized per each book, just kind of my overview of it and so on and so forth. Let me know what you think about this video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, the whole shebang. We have tons of magical fun here. Now, if you've made it this far, in the comment section, drop down a little book emoji. I think there's book emojis and like notebook emojis, something related to books and notebooks, to let me know that you're a real one and have watched the whole video. Other than that, I shall see you on the next one. Love you all. Bye.